there was an entire village which was dying. And I confronted the then food minister, who said to me that इस बड़े देश में 20-30 लोग मर जाते हैं, आप बात का बतंगड़ बना देते हैं।
Right now in many families there are 5 generations living. This is not good.
As hate increased after Trump, you're blaming the media for that.
I'm not blaming the media.
You're not blaming Trump. Has Europe invited trouble on itself?
Millions of new people come with a completely different culture, a religion which they will not compromise, and they will not fit into your society, they will try to create their own society. If you had not bombed out Iraq, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, this is the kind of solutions they offer to the world. Particularly this city, Aleppo city, which is an 8,000-year-old city, this city was built on taxes levied on Indian traders. The women are all on the streets, selling themselves.
In 1997, Sadhguru, I was in NDTV, there was a story which came out, a reporter called Sampath Mahapatra called me. And he said that there is a story I want to go and report. And we needed approval from the headquarters to send the reporter down there. Sampath went there and he said there's a village where people are dying. We sent him there. When he went there, he said that there was an entire village which was dying. And the reason for that was horrifying. There was complete starvation in that village. There was a drought, there was no health facilities, there was not a grain of rice. So the people of this area, which is the KBK, Kalahandi, Bolangir, Koraput belt in Orissa, started taking the seeds of mangoes, putting it into muddy water and making a soup of it. That, because it was so hot, started becoming rotten. And so it was a rotten mango gruel that was prepared. And because they were so hungry, and no mother can see her child starve, they were poisoning themselves to death because they were so hungry they had to eat something. In my life, I remember at that time as a reporter, I stood outside gate number 1 of Parliament, I was so angry, and I confronted the then food minister, who said to me that इस बड़े देश में 20-30 लोग मर जाते हैं, आप बात का बतंगड़ बना देते हैं. And I was shocked and horrified, Sadhguru. Till this date, I feel, and people say to me, why do you scream so much? I say, because in this country, you don't yell, you don't scream, nobody gives a damn. I still do believe that in this country. We believe in that chalta hai attitude because we think everything's okay with us, why should we care about the rest of the world? We're growing, but the chasm in our country is also growing. Between the rich and the poor, between the haves and the have-nots, between those who have everything and those who don't have any shelter. And yet we feel happy enough to cut ourselves off from it. Is it true that we spend a large amount of our time cutting ourselves off from our own country? Is this not one of the greatest problems of India today? That we, the privileged sections of India, have cut ourselves off from the rest of India. And is there a solution for it?
See, the question is not about the disconnect between the well-to-do and the not-so-well-to-do or the impoverished regions of our nation. We have not invested enough in the fundamental nature of our humanity. We've become many things other than being human. If you sat here as just a human being, it would be very natural for you that your heart beats for everything around you. But now you become so many things, starting from gender, language, culture, religion, race, ethnicity. In many ways we have identified ourselves. Because of these identities, all these identities give you a certain sense that you can undermine your humanity. You cannot undermine your humanity if you did not have these identities or if you did not give it too much priority. All of us have those identities at a certain level. Cultural identities are there, language identities are there, but they are not fundamental to us. Our fundamental nature is that we are life. If you sat here as life, you would reverberate with every life. Nobody had to tell you, you would be that way. But that has not happened. That is because we are a moral country. We've never had codes of morality in this nation. We have always managed populations because in every generation, they were enlightened beings, hundreds of them. And so we manage human consciousness in a certain way. By making people conscious, we manage situations in a beautiful way. Wherever those people did not come or not enough were there anarchy happened, chaos happened, because we have never had a set of morality. Because morality makes you act, but doesn't transform you. For example, I'm sorry, I'm not commenting on the theme of the club. For example, the word service. Leaving the theme of this. See, it's like this. If you… let's say there is a child starved out on the street. If you pick up the child and feed this child and take care of this child, you think it is service. But if you pick up your own child and do that, you don't think it is service. What is the difference, I'm asking? For one, your heart is beating, for the other, it is not. So the barrenness of heart is the basis of all this. We're always trying to do good. You don't have to do any good. You just have to become a full-fledged human being. A full-fledged human being means a natural conscious response to everything. And what best you could do. And that's all a man can do. That you are at your best always to everybody and everything. Are you doing the greatest? Maybe not, but I'm doing my best. If every human being does their best in every sphere of life, with every life that they come in touch with, something will happen. But above all, this is a more large-scale problem, that there is lack of planning, lack of policy, lack of corrections, and irresponsible population explosion. In 1947, we were only 33 crores. Today we are 120 crores or 25 crores. 4 times over in 70 years is irresponsible reproduction. This is not because we have over-reproduced, we must understand this. In 1947, the average life expectancy of an Indian was only 28 years. Today we are reaching somewhere 63, 64, which is a great achievement. We should further push it. But on an average, a woman used to go into pregnancy when she was 14, 15 or 16. Today we've pushed it to something like 19, 20 is the average when they're getting pregnant. So by the time she's 65 or 70, there are 4 generations behind her, or 3 generations behind her and 1 or 2 generations ahead of her. That means right now in many families there are 5 generations living. This is not good. This is very brutal what I'm saying, I know. But at any time, there is space only for 3 generations. Your parents, yourself and your children. There can't be 5 generations living. That's what is happening right now in this country and in many other places, especially in this country. 5 generations are living, so there is no space. Once there is such a load, people will keep their humanity in the attic and go about brutally. That child who comes and knocks on your traffic space, I would cry at one time. Now I'm trying to look down, because every time I don't have money to pull out, most of the time I don't have, I have to ask the driver who's driving, please give me some money. So I try to look down. So you're trying to put down your humanity for some time, but it would be natural for me to pull out whatever I have and give it to him. But now you can't do it because it's everywhere. It's too much of a problem for you to address individually. Wherever you can do, whatever you can do, you do, but you're not able to address everything. Slowly, you try to insulate your humanity. This is what is happening. It is not that people have become brutal, it's not that people have become inhuman, because the problem is so pervasive, you're not able to address it.
Has hate increased after Trump? Has hate increased after Trump?
It is not increased, it is just that it's little emboldened. It's not increased. I spent substantial time in United States, in and out. It was always there. Now it is finding expression. But I think that's a temporary upsurge. I think it'll control itself. Law enforcement will take charge after some time, they'll pick up a few people, handle that. But hate crimes have been happening all the time in America.
Has Europe invited trouble on itself? You know, it's opened the doors, there's been a lot of immigration.
They have not opened doors, they've closed all the doors, they've built fences.
Now they are.
They're just not allowing the media near the fences anymore. Or media also is part of it, they don't go near the fences, they only shoot the open spaces. Their cameras don't pick up the fences. Most nations have put up barbed wire fences wherever the migrants could come and they've stopped, all right? You can't blame them either because they're coming in millions. If millions of new people come with a completely different culture, a religion which they will not compromise, and they will not fit into your society, they will try to create their own society, local people will feel insecure. It is a multi-headed problem, it's not a simple problem. So this is why I'm saying for all these Azadi groups also, the moment you break the fabric of any nation, it doesn't matter how fragile, how ramshackle it is, the moment you break it, what comes out of it is such a thing that you cannot control it. See, if you had not bombed out these nations, if you had not bombed out Iraq, Syria, Libya, Afghanistan, wherever, if you had not done that, if you had negotiated and settled those problems to whatever extent, you can't fix all the problems, at least you could have contained the problems. If you had done that, these people would not be moving to Europe. Somehow they would continue to live because nobody wants to leave their place of birth and their parentage and everything just for nothing. When it becomes terrible, they want to go. But once the momentum starts, the things that I've seen in Europe, I cannot utter here, it's terrible. What these migrants are doing to themselves to earn just one meal is too horrible. The women are all on the streets, all kinds of people with children and everything, they're on the streets selling themselves because there is no other way to make a living. These are all people who lived reasonably well. Reasonably well means maybe not in the same level of economic well-being as the Western Europe, but they lived with some dignity, with some pride in their own lands. I drove from Beirut to Damascus to the Iraqi border, I just drove myself through the desert and fantastic country it was just 7 years ago, you know, really nice country. Particularly this city, Aleppo city, which is an 8,000-year-old city, this city was built on taxes levied on Indian traders. So you must assume, what is the level of trade that was happening between India and Damascus and Jerusalem was such, just by the taxes that the Indian traders paid, they built a city, a living city, 8,000 years old, one of the most beautiful cities, if you ask me. Today when I see on the news channels Aleppo, what is it? Is this a solution for anybody? So, you may have whatever, people earn Nobel Peace Prizes, but this is the kind of solutions they offer to the world. There was no need to do these things, there was a way to negotiate because of the simplistic, moralistic attitude that you have, that this is a good guy, this is a bad guy. This is basic stuff, good guy, bad guy business. And millions of people, over 1 million are dead, over 10 to 15 million are homeless. Nobody is counting these numbers really properly. But what's happened to Aleppo when I see on the screens, I can't believe it. This is a city that I enjoyed so much just 7 years ago. And the people were so wonderful.
I'm not quite sure, you know, you quickly passed through my question when I asked you about what happening in America and you glanced it through and you said that it's a temporary phenomenon.
No,
I'm saying
Sadhguru, nothing has changed as the news channels are trying to project. Suddenly America has changed, become a cauldron of hate. It's not true. Generally, there is a racial discrimination in the country. All of us face it somewhere or the other, especially me. I've not been shot at yet, but people have given me daggers. And so many things happen there. We just say, okay, this is how this country is and go on. America has the most beautiful aspects of life also, and very extremely negative aspects also, because this is that kind of a melting pot, all kinds of people. Now those people, some of those people are feeling emboldened and they think they can act. But I'm telling you, they were acting even before. How many hate crimes have happened? Recently, in the last 1-2 years, you must have seen all these black people being shot in many places, they put on the Facebook Live and all that stuff. But this has been happening all the time. Suddenly, because of the Facebook, you think it's happening. No, it's been happening all the time, now the world knows. Otherwise, the people who live there, they always know this happens all the time. Just look back at the statistics. Let's say in 2016, 2015, how many Indians, how many blacks, how many Hispanics have been killed? I don't think the numbers have changed. The reporting has changed.
You're blaming the media for that.
I'm not blaming the media.
You're not blaming Trump. You're not blaming Trump, but you're blaming the media for that. I think Trump has emboldened us.
I'm saying, yes, definitely his presence has emboldened them. But I'm saying, nobody needs to embolden them, they've been always doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe now they're uttering the words. They're not afraid of uttering the words because they think at the highest office there is support.